Look at that. Abandoned property.
Hey, who's the owner or
who lives here?
I can go get them real quick.
Okay, please.
It's just two girls having a good time talking about, asking about their bartender and just being girls on their way to the grub truck.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Who do you tell everything? Well, how about your bartender? Kaylee's dad also says
it was pretty clear that this individual was not a part of the investigation as far as a suspect.
Social media thought it was and sort of started looking at this guy's profile and obviously started making comments and so on. And, the question is, didn't True Crime consider the fact that the cops had this footage, that the cops would have seen all of this about a month ago? And if it was so simple, if it was so easy, well, then we wouldn't still be looking for someone. Also, Adam has left his social media open. I'm not sure if it still is. But anyway, it's the old thing. You throw social media a bone and social media will default to its default setting. Could he be the murderer? So I think this was a 24-hour turnaround thing, just showing how the witch hunt setting is absolutely a natural setting. Not right, but natural for social media. So the answer is, yes, he could be the murderer, but he could also be their bartender. Which do you think is more likely? And you may have noticed I never really went into the whole thing. I never mentioned his surname, and I also didn't show any of his social media because it's just too easy and too obvious. At the same time, you do really want to look at if someone's name is mentioned in certain circumstances. You do want to look at it, and it still is important to know what everything means. The word everything, I told him everything. What does that mean? And we will come back to that. Now, where are we now? We are 5 weeks, a month, more than a month into the aftermath of the Idaho student murders. Reality seems to be shifting, doesn't it? This is very much a one step forward, two steps back kind of case. I've been pretty optimistic that results were coming in, that we were very close to an arrest or something, but based on developments just over the past few days, including the body cam we saw yesterday of students, including apparently some of the victims, not cooperating with the cops, well, we may be in for the long haul after all. We may be dealing with a situation of too many secrets. The Delphi case felt a lot like that for a long time, like it wasn't going anywhere because witnesses weren't coming forward. But if you think about that case, as it turned out, many did come forward. Still, was it enough? Kaylee's father has also shared some surprising insight about the white car the cops are searching for, as well as his feelings now on the police investigation itself. So we're going to go through what he said in his more than 5-minute interview with Fox News. Before we get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Many thanks to I think it's now a couple of thousand of you who have subscribed. Welcome to the True Crime Rocket Science community. Bear in mind, there's also discussions going on Patreon on this case as well. If you're enjoying the content, like, share, leave a comment, and let's get started. So we're going to deal with 5 points, and the first one is his comment that it's just two girls having a good time talking. So as far as he's concerned, it's not really anything very groundbreaking. I kind of said that as well, just saying that really this footage is kind of a shadow of the grub truck footage. It's kind of a poor facsimile of that, right? But if in terms of that statement, it's just two girls having a good time talking, could you say the same thing about what was going on at the grub truck, at the food truck? I mean, we had to assume the cops and family had already vetted this video as well, and Adam has already been checked up and cleared on, and I don't see anything suspicious around him. But I think it's a bit of a gloss over to say it's just two girls having a good time. I mean, let's face it, they weren't having such a great time right then. you can hear in the tone of voice that there's some upset in the tone of voice. Dudes around them were making remarks sufficient for Maddie to confront and swear at them. There was a sort of a fun aspect. You can see that in the people around them. You can see that in the way Kaylee is kind of amused by what's going on. But I don't know if it's entirely all fun and games. I mean, Hoodie Guy wasn't exactly someone they seemed to want hanging around them, which is why they ditched him without saying goodbye. That part is quite interesting. The way they ran off is similar to the way the girls disappeared when the cops came knocking. In fact, the cops actually said something like that when they arrived on the noise complaint in September, that it seemed like they had sort of bolted. I think those were the words they used. Isn't that the same, I don't know if the word is coping strategy, but the same setup over here? That in a situation that was a bit uncomfortable, they simply ran away from it. They simply tried to avoid it. It would be interesting to know what everything was all about, as in I told Adam everything. It would still be interesting to know what that is all about. It sounds like something quite big. It's not, it doesn't, and even the tone of voice makes it seem like it's significant. Adam may turn out to be quite an important witness in terms of that aspect, in terms of the final clockwork of dynamics. What is going on in the inner workings of hearts and minds? Maybe that's important. Number 2, Steve thinks the white Hyundai was borrowed.
The due diligence there, they've done all that. So now they're reaching out and they're going to look to the community to see if this individual borrowed this car. It doesn't appear that it's something that they have.
Based on Kaylee's father's statement, the cops seem to be of the opinion the white vehicle wasn't driven by its actual owner, but was borrowed instead. Was it borrowed from parents or friends? Either way, why has no one put up their hand to say, yep, that's my car? The answer may be the same as why the cops got to the closed front door, got to know that closed front door so well on September 1st, right? But I think it raises the question again, if that car is a borrowed car, then is the driver of it at that night more likely to be a student or not? Number 3, echoes of the Kylie Rodney case. In the Rodney case, there was a Lord of the Flies element to whatever was going on inside these parties. It feels like there's something slightly ominous, somewhat similar to that going on here, doesn't it? Where that narrative is being protected to a man, which suggests simultaneously that someone may know something in terms of dynamics and some kind of inside story, but also that no one wants to be a rat and get uninvited to future parties. This aspect, as I say, could draw out the investigation from 1 month, where we are now, to, well, a lot longer. Number 4, Steve seems more supportive of the cops now. So when you listen to the interview, and I'll put a link in the description, for whatever reason, Kaylee's father seems to understand now how difficult this investigation is and how it's going to be. He admits at one point.
Yeah, I want kids to understand that this is such a big case that these guys have their hands full. I wanted to go out there and tell everyone we support the Gonzalez family, support the local police officers.
I don't know if it is, but it feels like an about turn from his demands for urgency and results just a few days ago. Again, this doesn't bode well for this case reaching any kind of closure anytime soon. Number 5, Coward's comment walked back. Do you think his statement about cowards is accurate? He says that the cops were trying to play things by the book, and he wasn't really accusing them of being cowards, but their lawyers, and that they were trying to just be too careful, protecting the integrity of the investigation. But if you think about it, it is actually a legal dance that law enforcement have to make. They need to say certain things, but they've got to be very careful what they do say. And that's obviously not the sort of legal dance social media. They don't hold themselves to the same standard. Anyway, that is also why he has his lawyer present during the show, because now he also needs to, because obviously it looks like law enforcement are sharing a lot more information with him now. And so now he has a lawyer present so that he doesn't compromise the investigation. Shannon Gray is his name, I believe, and although he's there, he never says a word during those 5 minutes. Kaylee's father concludes that the coroner said the killer was a very strong individual.
You know, the coroner said this was a very strong individual. 2 people had defensive wounds.
Has that been clarified before now, that there were 2 people with defensive wounds? I think we assumed that, but I think it's been made official now. We knew that there was one, I think the word that they used was some had defensive wounds. Well, now we know that it was 2. Wouldn't it make sense that one of them was the second person attacked upstairs? The other person was I'm talking about the top floor. The other person was the second person attacked on the middle floor, right? Or does it mean if Zaina and Ethan were attacked last, that both of them had defensive wounds? In a weird way, the 4 victims make this case a lot more complicated. But what does that mean is it's a very strong individual? Does it mean it's a male? Or does it mean it's a particularly strong male? A kind of a hulking Rambo-type character? Or is he more of a civilian type like we saw in Pulp Fiction? Is the crime more cool and calculated or crazy rage monster? Is it methodical or a mad frenzy? That's what we'll be dealing with in the next episode. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.